Hi, and welcome to Yeshivat Shem Ve'aver. I'm Rabbi David Katz, and this is class number 12 of the Ger series. Questions, comments, or feedback, I can be reached at Rabbi Katz at virtualyeshiva.com. And the title for this class will be called Shema Garim, the name causes. This week, as we're going into the 12th edition or installment of the Ger, we started the series by the premise we were going to focus on every Ger of the Chumash. And there's over 100, as I'm finding out. I found another faction. The Concordancia is the book that has every word in the Torah in it where it's listed. And as I've been saying, there's like about 95 mentionings of the word ger. But then there's about another, actually 80 of the word gar, which is to dwell. And mixed in with the gar words are more usages of the ger. For example, if I'm a ger in the Torah and I say I gar here, I dwell here, then you have to say that person was a ger. It's this, he doesn't. But the language, he's saying he's a ger. We see this by Jacob. Jacob says garti. I dwelled by Lavan, and we know Jacob's a ger. So when he says garti, I have dwelled, that's pretty straightforward. What garti is. Interesting to note, Garti is the same letters Taryag, which represents 613 mitzvahs, as if to say that the Ger can learn and perform the Torah to the nth degree, as we see by Jacob. That's part of the Ger series, and as we've progressed, I've made it known that we were giving now the level of the universal ger. David calls himself a ger. The Avot were gerim. Everyone in the world is a ger. And the message has become quite universal. And with that said, I'm sitting on tonight's class, and there's just so many avenues that have come about of the ger. At first I thought to intertwine the ger Shabbat into the Ger series, which we might do. So stay tuned for that. Very well might be that in the future I bring in Ger Shabbat issues. Universal Shabbat. How Shabbat is, a universal level for everybody, where we all have in common the same goal as the knowledge of God on Shabbat. That was one premise, but what really got me, now that we get into the class per se, what got me this week, and what I find coming down in my own personal life this week, these last couple of weeks, and probably until the end of the book of Bamidbar, is the concept of names. Now, there's a couple of reasons why I'm coming here with this. For everyone that follows my work knows that I'm heavily involved in names. The work that I do in part with the blog just turned 2 years old, if anyone's seen that. But the point is that Pinchas, Parshas Pinchas, the essence of Pinchas is his name. The Zohar goes into it very heavily, that the real miracle that allowed Pinchas to perform on the highest level, called Tachlis Geula, the level where the final redemption emanates from, the world of Bina, understanding, or Bria, of creation, that's the level of the name. Right? Where you are in the upper world of Atzilut, that's you without any vessel. That's the light of you. That's where everything you are and your root is in that world. All of your potential. The infinite self of you, whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, a construction guy, a dentist, a gardener, all the possibilities in the world that can be of you are there. And as you live in this world and the next, you will derive from that world, through your name, knowledge of the entire Torah. It'll take you infinity, but in the end, you will have lived everything. It just will take you forever to get there. That's the beauty of the next world. It literally is an infinite trek of knowledge of God through life, knowledge of God through your life, knowledge of God through your life as He has known you by name. That spiritual reality of the mechanics and technology of your name is the world of Bria, creation. That's where, pardon my expression, but that's where you are cool. I know it's a ridiculous word in terms of a Torah class, but the word is really cool. All right, I'll give you an example. Anyone that watched the basketball finals that just ended, if you haven't watched it, don't follow basketball, don't even know what kind of ball they use in basketball, follow along, it's not hard to understand. All right, so we just had the championship game between the Miami Heat and the San Antonio Spurs. Now, anybody watching the game in the world of Asiya, the lowest world, mundane, nothing matters, it's the grind of everyday life, paying bills, being boring, watching TV. All right, we see amazing things in our world that go unnoticed. And we think that Kim Kardashian's baby is really cool. And we think that godliness is not existent. So we have to watch movies and TV shows that paint an inaccurate picture and actually distort the divine image, trying to get a glimpse of, is there something more? Can't we just go to Mars and have a community there? Isn't there more? It's not about Mars. And, I'm as much of a Trekkie as the next guy. But unfortunately, it's not about Star Trek either. Star Trek as a kid was like the highest I could get to of something, otherworldly. The multi-dimensions of the show. But the real spirituality is so much more. But we're blind to it in our world. Yet it happens under our nose every day, all day long. And here's the example from basketball. LeBron James is, hailed as the soon to be, or understood as the greatest basketball player that ever lived. That's what people want to say. And this is in the face of Michael Jordan, who defined greatness in the sport. And I read a very interesting article on the internet either this week or last week. And it said like this: in a basketball series, they have a best of 7. And in our world, we think that it should only go 4 games, right? If I'm going to be the best, I have to be so good that I just beat you 4 games to nothing. You maybe 100 to nothing every game, and I was a man amongst boys. That's what we expect. In baseball, hit a home run every time. But that's highly unrealistic. Highly, highly unrealistic. Yet people expect dominance. They want greatness. They want dominance. Show me something otherworldly. Do a flip in the game or something. Show me something I've never seen. Once in a while you'll have like a great slam dunk, and you'll say, "Wow, did you see that? He jumped over that guy's head." We say, "Wow, he really must be the best." But that's science fiction. If he does jump over some guy's head, that's just God giving him a bracha. Real greatness is in the article I read. It said like this: you got 4 games that you can win out of a best of 7 series. And LeBron James disappears in games, I think 5 and 6. And they say he's out. He's no good. He choked. He always does this. He's no Michael Jordan. Forget the comparisons to greatness. This is a joke. Then he comes back in Game 7 with a monumental game, wins it. Oh, he's the best. He's the best. We always knew. I mean, it's every moment that your perception changes. Once it goes beyond 4 games, he's either the worst that ever lived, and you for sure could do better from your armchair quarterback position. Or if he surprises you, you say, wow, I knew it. I knew he was the best. No, you didn't. So the answer was, why don't you use all 7 games to your advantage? When Andre Agassi played tennis, what made him fantastic was he used the white chalk line of the court. He would hit it in the very last centimeter of playing, in bounds. So, in the way of angles and geometry in sports, half a degree is the name of the game. In wrestling, I used to wrestle in high school. If you're 1 degree off of a perfect angle that the move requires, you lost it. I mean, geometry either works or it doesn't work. It's called leverage. So when you can get, the ball into the last inch of the court in the corner, that's the difference between the other guy being able to get there in time and not being able to get there in time. What LeBron James has been able to do is to say, hey, let's step back and let's look at this as a series, and let's assume that it is a 7-game series, and let's use all 7 games. Let's suppose that games 5, 6, and 7, which are theoretical, let's use them as equity. Wait, why does it have to be viewed as debt? Why do I have to say, okay, if I go down 1 game, I'm in debt into a game 5. God forbid I go into a game, 2 games in debt, then we gotta go 6. That's a negative way of looking at something positive. Right? It's like saying, if I don't win the lottery today, well, I'll win it tomorrow. Well, why? Why is it always hit or miss? Love, hate. Righteous, wicked. I mean, that's really where our society has gone. You're either the greatest thing since sliced bread, or you're the worst, my Lord. No one's ever seen anything worse than you. And it changes by the moment. You're only as good as your last performance. So this guy, he's great since he's a kid. In Ohio, where I come from, he was in the newspapers because he's from Ohio. And what you find out is that there's something special about LeBron James, and it's that he diagnoses everything, like a quarterback in football. The guy that really operates the team in real time. And you start to find articles coming in the news. Famous athletes. LeBron James would be quite a quarterback in football should he pursue his gifts that he had in high school when he played football. And then they say, he's very good at diagnosing the play as it happens. And you start to put all this together and you realize when he was dogging it in games 5 and 6, that was called diagnosing the other team. It was not a poor sportsmanship, a lack of motivation. It was called, let's take a timeout, pun intended, and what's going on here? Now, he played the same team back in 2007. He got dominated. And they say, where did he go? He disappeared. He was growing, learning, diagnosing. He was hacking the other team's computer system. That is the difference between Asiya, the lower world, and Bria, the world where our names shine. Don't view him from your ridiculous point of view of your armchair quarterback position. Oh, he's locked out. They got him. First of all, he won. Second of all, he used the equity of 7 games to say, we have 7 games here. Chances are, if I use all 7 games, I'll win. Most people would say, isn't that cutting it a little close? You want to rely, on a 7, maybe you'll lose. But there's the realm of using what is given to you. You take what the lane gives you. If you're going to play poorly, I'll beat you in 4. If you're going to play at your best, then I can get you in 7. Math is divine. This is why gambling works in terms of being able to be victorious in an algorithm society. Math lends itself to victory. 7 games is a victory if you perceive it as a possibility. As long as you say it's not possible, I have to get out of here ASAP, you're going to lose. You're stressed, you're pressured, you're not being you. LeBron James learned how to be him. The point of this analogy is we are actually shining individuals, and pardon the expression, cool. We have tools, gifts, God-blessed ability in our names that are given to us. So when you're trying to figure out something, don't make yourself mundane and say, oh, that's just me figuring it out again. View it for what it really is. You're hacking the mainframe. You're getting information. We actually have missions to our name, soul missions. Abilities by God, he sends us out on location to do jobs. We work for God. That is in your name. And it's just like what you see on TV. That is you, but in real time. When LeBron James is hacking into the other team's defense to figure out the defense against him, and he's cracking every code like a hacker, that's what he's doing. And that is the world of Bria, where all these people are intermingling. Some are evil. They really want your soul. Some are very righteous. They, are shining with a sword in their hand from God. And this entire just play of Broadway is going on before our eyes every day in our sector of the universe that we call boring, mundane, everyday life. But that's the job of a mullik, is to tell you how mundane you are. Meanwhile, they're the ones reaping the benefits of monopoly and exploitation. They are aware of the spiritual nature of this world. And they exploit it in impurity and in ways of evil. When you break out and you realize that you are able to create culture based on what is given to you, then the 4 worlds of the Kabbalistic universe are illuminated in a whole new light. And Atzilus is where you get communion with God. The highest world, when you start to open your soul and perceive and allow the revelation to come into your vessel, allow divine communication, allow yourself to absorb the light that comes from everywhere. Then in the world of Bria, you have a character. And it's not a fiction or fantasy character, it's your name. And you cannot give yourself the context of your name. That comes from the world above, of light shining on you. That's called your mazal. Your world is working with you, telling you what we think of you. And it's not from our opinion or a subjective point of view. We are all working with you from God, and you are the center of your universe. And bringing that revelation to earth is your humility. And what makes the world tick and go around is the world beneath that world, Yetzirah, which is creation. Call that divine providence, the physicality of God's mazal. What makes the ball go in the hoop when LeBron shoots it? It's spiritual entities. You think he is good enough to put the ball in the hoop? You think man is strong enough for able to do anything? We have blessings and we have curses. One guy might also be 6'8", 270 pounds, built like a tank and can run like the wind. But he does not have the blessing or the God-given gift of hacking the computer system, i.e. a righteous point of view of the game. He wants money, he wants girls, he wants gold, he wants this, he wants newspaper articles. God says, no, you got it all wrong. You're going to be the one that we're making a story out of about how things go wrong. Then if you have the blessing to make the ball in the hoop, maybe that's a curse. Oh, look what I can do. I can do anything. They go in the real world, boom, tank, fall down. Everything of the blessing and the curse is perspective. But in the end, you have God-given divine abilities. And it comes into the lowest world where we are, and we say, this is boring, nothing happens. This world is where all other worlds collide. This is where all levels of spirituality exist. But it takes on a hardened shell exterior called klippa. And we are told to learn the Torah to see through the klippa. And to bring light into this world of darkness. And the trick of that light, to really appreciate this world, is to bring light in either through your world or somebody else's. Starting this class, what did I do? I brought light into LeBron James's world. Now, how he deals with that, let's say tomorrow, post-basketball, I don't know. The future is not written. Ishmael, Abraham's son, was not guilty until he was guilty. But for the time being, LeBron James, at least in my mind, has gone from a guy with the ability to shoot a ball through a hoop, which is not even true. That's the least most important part of his job. That is the least important thing to do, which is ironic because the game calls for that to be the most important thing to do. The most important part is who is he as a person? What is he doing? What is his life a dream achieving? And when you bring light to his vessels in his world, you see, wow, there's a person there. Maybe he's got the glitz and the glamour and the sunglasses. And wow, is it good to be LeBron James with $1 billion? But there's a person there. When he practices, there's a person. He thinks and he feels. And he knows the mantra of sports is 80% mental. That's what should be appreciated. And that's the most mundane. They say, yeah, it's all mental. It's all about mental. He said before the game, this is the moment of truth. It's all cliche. And I'm saying get beyond the cliche. Turn those words from mundane into something of meaning. Don't just say that preparation is everything. Don't just say what he says. Make it mean something. Appreciate his true gift that never saw the light of day. Most people, they don't think to make that the light of the world. They just see, oh, he practices all day. What are you thinking about when you're practicing? The reason why he's a pro basketball player and you're not, no matter how good you put the ball in the hoop, he's not thinking of putting the ball in the hoop. You've heard the famous statement, chess players think 5 moves ahead. That's LeBron James. But he's not. That's also cliche. And to borrow words from King Solomon, hevel havolim, all is futile. I don't know what it means to think 5 moves ahead. That became a ridiculous, mundane cliche that is useless in my life and probably everyone else's. It's lost its meaning. The vessel must represent where we are. How about hacking the mainframe? Thinking about how to read into something and penetrate, break through barrier. We have computers as the ultimate analogy for bringing light to these things. Those moments of darkness that remain unspoken, unexpressed, and mundane, that is the God relationship that we all have. That's the power in you to do what you do. In face of what everybody else says, well, to be you, you got to get the ball in the hoop. And that is the point of the game. But mind you, if you look at what it makes basketball tick, it's not the ball in the hoop. If it was the ball in the hoop, this would be how every game would start. Boys, okay, get the ball and just throw it. Throw it to the rim and get it in. All right, get the ball and do that. That's not what happens. You get a stadium, you have uniforms, you have numbers, you have names, you have management, you have marketing, you have practice, you have a coach. Everything in the world must come before the proverbial get the ball in the hoop. Because that is it's almost as if that world is expressing God. God takes care of putting the ball in the hoop. We don't run God's world. That's really the truth of the matter. Because if you understand the gifts and how they are developed, how to, let's say, crack or cipher the code, what is this other team doing? How can I adapt, break in, cipher, and destroy? It's then assumed once you do that, ball goes in hoop. How different it is for what we perceive reality. We would say, wow, get ball in hoop. And then in retrospect, we'll say, oh, I guess I broke the code. That's not how the world works. That's not how you work. People see you for what you do, and you say, don't you appreciate me? What do you mean? I see that you plant very nice flowers. And you don't know how to put to words your gift. Did you know the wisdom that it took to get the flower to bloom? I see a very nice vineyard in the Negev in the south of Israel. That's nice. That's nice. Plants grow everywhere. That's nice. Do you know the story behind it? Can you articulate the power behind it? The revelation from God's gifts. Those areas they're not darkness, and they're told to be mundane. They're simply ignored. And that's the place of exploitation by evil. They get you in those places and they rob you of it. They redefine it for you, make it mundane, make it boring. You probably even get mocked and laughed at. Oh, there you are studying flowers again. Ha ha ha. You be quiet, you don't express it. Now you just try to plant really, really, really good flowers and say, hey, did you notice how good the flowers got? No, I didn't. But you keep that up. You keep going. You're pretty good. That's the nature of the four worlds. This world doesn't tell you the truth. Yet it's all here because you're doing it in this world. But you don't realize what you're doing, what you're calling doing the you program. You're being helped in a world above you. That they're fighting it out for you. So that you can plant the flower, get the ball in the hoop, do whatever wisdom it is you do. The product that's a byproduct of your relationship with God. I have a relationship with God, and God says, hey, let's use the waste product of that relationship to make flowers. Let's put the ball in the hoop and use your gifts for the good of the creation. Above that, you're really existing, being you. You're working with those powers that be in your name. All the names coming together in the world are working together in societies. And ultimately, in the world above that, is the communion. How did you get the knowledge you have? You got it from sleight of hand of passing information in ways of wisdom and speech and metaphor and mazal and analogy and revelation, even prophetically from God, by interacting directly with God. And we think that's called interacting in our low, boring world, Asiya. With that said, everybody has a name. Shema Garim. The name causes. And it's interesting because the word in Hebrew for causes, Garim, is the same word for Gerim. That the Gerim have names. Also, Garim is fear. The name evokes fear. That when you really have your name, it has the ability to shine. When you can illuminate your world properly, hit the nail on the head. Don't give me a load of a story of what's not your world. When you can exist and shine in your world clearly, accurately, you are being the light to the nations. Because what you do is, they don't see you. You're irrelevant. Everybody likes to see their own world. And if you're truly humble, it's not about you, the person shining the light. The light goes on for them. Cain wants to make an offering. Abel says, I want to make an offering. And it wasn't necessarily to be taken out of context in jealousy or stealing. People are inspired by their people. That's life. You get ideas from others. And that really is the secret of the Ger. The Ger goes around the world, parsha by parsha. And they load the world's algorithms. Because the world is an algorithm. It's a mathematical equation. There is a system to hack. It's called interface with God. On a wisdom level. Once you break through and you get in sync with the program, i.e. nature, then you can go even beyond, transcend beyond, and work with God directly. But the body must be in sync. It must be in a hub, in a chink in a chain, working. You can't just break free of all heavenly yoke. The Torah is the yoke. There's a society you must plug in. And you plug in and you see how the world works. And God gets to you through creation. You're just a number. But you can transcend beyond and say, I have a name as well. And that's when God goes to be, he stops being other gods, the name Elohim in plural, and it becomes Hashem Hu Elohim. If you want to give yourself over to the other side, judgment, you get Elohim Achirim, other gods. And then the name Kel Shakai becomes demonic. And God says, okay, you want to go for judgment? Let's do the judgment program. Bob, you have look at this, 87% chance of committing murder under certain conditions. And I see you flirted with one of those conditions. Let's open the file on Bob, and let's pull one of those conditions in the forefront and see if he can handle it. So you play with the other side, you get tested. And God is relentless on that level, to the point it's mechanical and algorithmic. I don't know your name. I don't know you anymore, he says. You want to play with danger? I'll call your number. You're the number 74%. Right? You want to go to a gambling venue in your town? You have family in Vegas, right? All right. So you get involved now. You'll probably go to Vegas. Let's keep it going. How far do you want to play with your life? How far do you want to gamble? If you even flinch and flirt with that side of creation, You're just a number. And you get plugged into the algorithm, and they might just call your number more than you like. That's how bad mazel comes about. But that's not based on your name, because your name has none of this. You didn't enter your name into the equation. You entered the lack of a name, suspension of a name. Then you become a commodity in a portfolio for somebody else's chart. You're a pawn on their board. And we all will fall victim to this. That's when you find yourself in a shady situation, somewhere you didn't intend to end up. You made a mistake. You sinned. King Solomon says, don't be so holy to think that no man sins. And you say, whoa, 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 whoa. God, I made a mistake. This is not my scene. Not wanting to be here. God says, I'm sorry, are you a pauper? And you say, why am I a pauper? Well, it looks like you have no equity. You have no value. You're worthless. You say, how is that possible? Why are you calling me a worthless human being? Because the only thing of value is your name. Everything else has a price tag. You pay the price. Whatever you want, you pay the price. But your name has no price tag. That is you. That is invaluable. It is priceless. That is the soul that comes from the chamber with God. Now, if you want to have your name, that is absolutely invaluable. That when you have a name, then you don't need to be called a pauper. But that means you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. And you ended up where, in a bad mazel situation where you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, that's when you begin to pray. You begin to really pray. And guess what? When you pray from that position, God says, Boker Tov, here's Bob praying again. Here I am for Bob. Bob's challenge is to know, A, I made a mistake. B, I am praying as a poor man. I forgot my name. C, you have to have absolute faith that forget this ridiculous world. Forget the fake facade of reality. I want to go back to God. That's called repentance. God says, let me ask you a question. Which world is correct? The highest world or the lowest world? And you will be asked that question. And everyone will say, you're delusional. You're not right. Why are you afraid? You need to stand up, take your name back, and say, God, your world is the true world. God says, I've known you by name. God was right there and heard your prayer. Right then, you get the blessing of your name, revelation, and that's where King David says the salvation comes to you. And you are sent into tight quarters to get a divine spark of revelation. And you only got the spark when you are forced to live the name that was removed from you. When you thought you were a number, you were actually being you. You relied on the residue of the you program. Whatever it is you do, you found God in darkness. You brought light into Tzimtzum. You found God. And the only problem is the perpetuation of sin is when you didn't know that was God. You called that other gods, Elohim Acherim. You gave power to the demonic forces as being God. That's because the world told you that's not God. That's not God. That's your imagination. You didn't really do that. The answer is you did do that. And you were working with God. Those things that you do is your relationship. When you're talking in your monologue, and it's a two-way street, there's a hidden question, or a hidden statement, a hidden exchange. That's you with God. And you start to connect from those places. You connect the dots until you are connected. You've connected all there is to connect, and you feel a little better. You've learned from it. You're empowered. A vision has come out of it of sorts saying, oh, that's what that was. You figured it out. You did your power of soul. Now, when you call that spirituality and the divine, then you start to bring it out of the filth of the world and elevate it to what it really is. View it a little differently. Don't view it as the boring program. View it as exciting. It was fun. I found God from darkness. I rose up from the ashes. This is where you have to make a shift. You look into your soul and you say, is that my name? Is that what I'm about? That the name causes. Everyone's name is prophetic and their prophecy. It's the style of our prophecy. We all are prophetic. In the same way of Bezalel, the constructor of the Mishkan, the tabernacle. When we hear words and 90% slant in one direction, and there's a 10% understanding the other direction, our job is to take it the other 10%. A, because that's what the person meant. B, that's the test. We all kind of understand. But when you shift your mind and you really understand, that's the revelation, that's the connection, that's the connecting the dots, that's the vision of the universe, that's your relationship with God. Your name is that power of prophecy. It's your wisdom. Your wisdom is to gather certain types of information. You're drawn to certain areas of wisdom for knowledge. You interact with certain people. And your job is to derive deeper and deeper and deeper meaning. Until eventually there's no more words, no more sharing of conversation. There's bonding within the moment. Knowing what the other person means. That's when names collide. Friendship is drawn. The name is a prophetic gift. It comes to you from prophecy. It's for you as a prophecy. And it is your ability to be prophetic. You have the ability to gain divine information from others if you listen with the powers of your prophecy of your name. And that is your mazel. Your mazel's telling you, you don't know you because you're not listening to us. If you would listen to us and work with us, interact with us, understand us, you will understand you and your prophecy and your mazal, your universe, your gifts. The light will go on in your world. Your world will be a light to the nations, and the greatest gift that comes of that is we don't care. We're not interested in your light or your gifts. We like you for who you are. The simple, boring, low of this world. We simply like you. And you say, what about my gifts? The difference is now, instead of saying, yeah, gifts, schmiffs, now we say, what gifts? And you start to illuminate. Now your small mind, Mochin the Katnus, goes into Mochin the Godless, huge mind. And you illuminate and express and educate. You're interesting. You say, I had that in me? That's your name, pal. Now you're receiving from your name. Instantaneously, now it's no longer about you. You're interested in your world for the first time. And everybody else is now drawing for their world. They're scavenging from you. Salvaging from you all the vessels for their world. But that's not called taking at that point. That is you being humble and giving. Blindly giving. Light to the nations operates as such. Illuminate the Torah. Illuminate names from the Torah. Characters from the Torah. Societies from the Torah. Ultimately, you are from the Torah. Illuminate your world. You're in there. You have a world in there, a society, a reincarnation. And when you can illuminate your world and say, this is me as I understand it to be from the Torah. That is a light to the nations. That is you acknowledging you're a ger. I am a temporary dweller in this world. That's your name. Because your name was not that before you came here, and it's not going to be it tomorrow when you die. So who are you? You're the name that came into this world as a Shinoi Shem. Your name changed. You are reincarnated. You're not who you were. You were a sinner. We all were. You came here for repair, to bring the world to redemption, and to keep you from making the same mistake, which is insanity, over and over again. God said, yesterday you were Bob, today your name is X or Y, whatever it is. That's called the change of the name, Shinoi Shem. And all of a sudden you do things differently. Why? Because after the change of name, your name is put in the land. You come into this world because God plants a seed called the U program. And the U program is where the name goes in the land. Every name and potential owns a grain of sand, at least. Therefore, God puts you according to your piece of dirt. From dirt you came, and dust you will return. Now God has to put you somewhere different. Oh, your name used to be Bob. Now your name is Jeff. Jeff is over in Anchorage, Alaska. Bob was over in Louisiana. So because your name changed, now you got to change your place. Changing your place, you will be a different person. You'll do things differently. If you are a Cajun chef in Louisiana, you're not going to be that in Anchorage, Alaska. You're going to be making snow cones. Pardon the pun. Change of name, change of place, change of action is the recipe for repentance. Because you took a different name, you forgot your sins. You will not be repeating those sins. And you are given a perfect assist from God in repairing those sins, living this world, and getting out of this world. Moving on, moving it on. That's the merit and blessing you have when you're born. That's why you have a different name. That's why you don't remember where you come from. That's why you're a ger. Everyone on that level, the universal ger. Your name is your ger. You come down as the ger program. I wasn't here, I am here, I won't be here. And you have a trail of breadcrumbs if you study your name and you succeed in doing your name gift and mission. You'll gain insight to what and where you were. What you need to fix. Did you fix it? Were you successful? The whole scope will make sense. This is the period of 2,000 years of Mashiach that we've been in, following the 2,000 years of Torah and chaos. It's called Knesset Yisrael, the gathering or congregation of Israel, largely called Kehelis Yaakov, the congregation of Jacob. That level of congregation of Jacob, the gathering of Israel, is reincarnated every generation. Like a bubbling fountain that just keeps bubbling. Like a flower that goes from bloom to rebirth to bloom to rebirth. And we're all here. Esav, Ishmael, Erev, Jews, and Gerim. And we will keep playing these parts. If your mazel is to be Jewish, go off and not become religious, become a Gentile, convert, become religious. You live this cycle, this pattern, right? I'm religious, I'm not religious. I'm religious, I'm not religious. I'm in Esav, I want out of Esav. I'm in Esav, I'm out of Esav. It's totally on the ship, off the ship. Whether you're Jewish, Esav, Ishmael, Erev, Amalek, whatever you are, it's all kind of combusting. And we're all in motion. Right? You're a good Jew, you're a bad Jew. You're a good this, you're a bad this. It's called sins. Ebb and flow. Rise and fall. Righteous and wicked. Some move very little, right? I put my left shoe on first, I put my right shoe on first. Or you are very volatile. I'm converting, I'm never converting again. I'm going to stay a Gentile. I'm going to convert and change the world. I'm never being Jewish again. Right? Some are very volatile. Some want to remain Jewish. Some want to straddle both sides. The fact is, it's dynamic and eventually it needs repaired. And you're going to come to this world with different names and jobs and missions. And every time you're coming with the power of your name. And the more you know your name in Ma'aseh v'Cheshbon, and a deed and number, you lessen the severity of your return. And it's not karma. That is idolatrous. It's about the success of the mission. Taking your name seriously, you will find out your name in the end. If you can know it now, think of the power that you can do. If you used to be volatile and you can fix one character trait, it's all worth it to be pious, says the Rambam. If you can come in the world and fix one trait, you are mightier than the mightiest of men. He who conquers his Yetzer is a true warrior. So if you used to be volatile, now you're not. Now you can be volatile and bringing more people to the knowledge of fixing. It's called the power of God invested in the mazal in the hearts of man. You're either a volatile or neutral pawn in God's chessboard, or God is moving you. You're moving with God in your board. You're doing the will of God. You're taking the yoke of heaven on your back and saying, "Come with me." That's light. That's light that shines in everybody else's universe. The true religion is your name. Religion is in layman's terms, the model of how I should live my life. And we know religion is false. Torah is not a religion. It is the truth. Judaism was born as a garment to the Torah. Noahide is to be without religion. It is forbidden by Noahide code to formulate religion. In the end, Judaism is secondary to Torah. Torah reigns supreme. It's not religion. It's reality. It's the book of life, mazal, and reality. If you're not with the Torah, you don't know reality. If you don't see evil building the Tower of Babylon, you see politics, which is totally bogus. If you see LeBron James shooting basketballs through hoops, and that's all it is purely entertainment, and he's that boring and mundane that he shoots balls through hoops, you are mistaken. There is a reality, and it is mazal, it is life, it is light, and it is here, and it's called the Torah. When you're there, you get religion. How to live my life. That's called your name. Your name says, oops, don't go down that road again. I've learned my lesson. Halacha. Bob doesn't like the go left program. Let's stick with going right. Fixing your muzzle, fixing your name, finding out what you do. Going out for the karate team, falling down, breaking your leg. Nope, not a karate guy. Learn that lesson. So what am I? You live your life, you learn your lessons, you become your name, you find the way to live. The more you go with your name, it is inconceivable that you're going to say, well, I know what my name means, but it's not really for Torah. I'm going to go watch the Kim Kardashian again with Kanye. Not possible. Not possible. When Abraham wanted to serve God, he came up with 613 ways of doing it. Because that's called reality. There are 7 modes or dimensions of reality and 613 garments. 620 components to the universe. That's reality. Your name is garmented in all 620. With an extension of light. That is you, that is reality, that's why we're here. The more we connect to that being, whether you have an English name or a Hebrew name, but getting it back into the original. Most of us are born with English names. That English is really Hebrew. It's 100% Hebrew. The intention was Hebrew from the level of God speaking it prophetically to your parents. Then when you get it out of the English and back into the Hebrew, and you start to connect it with the connections of your life, you find that's my relationship, my prophecy with God. That's the true prayer. That's the interface wherever I go. That is where equity and debt unite. Not only am I equitable, but I am a pauper in the eyes of God, because I understand how great God is. Imagine that. You have invaluable gifts called your name, and yet you're still a pauper. That's a king. Because a king recognizes the King of Kings, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So when you get into your name and you understand the letters and how they join, and the concepts, how they join, and why it's tied to your location. Why am I here? Why am I in this place with these people? Why do I do what I do? Then you start to find out, what am I supposed to do? What have I been doing? What do I always do? What can I do better? How can I keep doing this stronger? That's the light that comes out of your soul, bursting forth. That's the religion of you, the art of how to be you. God sent you here to be you. Then you find you in the Torah and you say, you're sanctifying God. The Torah is names of God. Then, like Shem, who was a priest to God above, the Noahide that learns Torah is like a high priest. Put the dots together. A priest to God above. You begin to emulate God's names above. That's called the Sfirot. Whether you want to perpetuate kindness, Keter, victory, you become a conduit of God's light and energy in this world. You'll find yourself in prophetic situations where people are speaking and you're able to get deeper in the meaning. The Gerim are the ultimate, that they're called the B'nai Nevi'im. They have the personality. That's what a Ger is most defined as. He has a vibrant personality. Most people would call that darkness. They don't want to know. Bring him to light, and it inspires words of prophecy. In the end, you say, for example, I am David. People will generally think when you say, I am David, I'm saying, hi, hey, David, nice to meet you. My name is Jim. But listen to what it is. Take the words I am and put a period. And when I said my name, David, imagine that's my signature. So I am, period, signed, your friend, David. So when people say, hi, I'm Bob, hi, I'm this and that, punctuate it as I am, period. Signed, your friend, David. They're telling you the message of their soul. They're introducing their name to you. That's when the hidden light comes to the forefront and is illuminated. That's the menorah of creation, the 7-branched menorah. That is when we don't have to change our name, change our mazel, get astrology reports, help me, change everything. Start to be you. Live the you program, and all of a sudden you will be received differently. You're illuminating in them what was darkness. You're illuminating in you what was darkness. And the blessings of Shemayim will come down, and will end with these words: every soul is a candle for God. We all have the power of light to the nations in us. We all have a soul. We all have a name. When we realize the name is the lamp for God, don't be surprised when your mazal is filled with blessings from above and within, and a light to the nations goes out and is illuminated amongst the world as the menorah sets the world on fire with the lights of spirituality. That's all for this week. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the change of pace. Enjoy Parshas Pinchas, he who was given the blessings of the priesthood from above due to him illuminating his name in the world. Thank you very much. Have a great week. Questions, comments, or feedback can be reached at Rabbi Katz at virtualyeshiva.com. Have a great week.